process has to be pretty startling for you, even for you.
Well, Mike and I got along great, and we've been friends for a long time, since 2000. It was a surprise, but we've been through this, Lincoln and I, on another couple occasions, before the interim part or the new part. We've adjusted to that, and the staff, been around the staff and the kids, that helped the transition. And so the first 2 days we've been getting to know one another.
Ruffin, what does it feel like to have the interim tag again? And are you? Is it interesting to you at all that this kind of keeps happening to you, that you're put in these situations?
I call it a blessing. I'm grateful and honored to be here at OU First, but the interim doesn't bother me. I love challenges. I love opportunities even more than challenges. So after the first time, you want to know what it is. The second time, before the Alamo Bowl, you want to know what it is. But sometimes you get trained for situations like this.
What did you learn from the situation in 2007 when you took over, 4 games into the season?
I've always believed in, first beginning, what I believe in personally as a coach, and I always will be myself. A lot of you have interviewed me before. I will never change. And the first things I want to make sure is that get the kids on the same page, all the boys on the same page, the staff first, and the boys. And with me, it's really about when they watch us personally, what I would like to see, and it's great effort, playing with great fundamentals, being very disciplined, making plays and finishing plays, and knowing the game. So that's my first approach. And then I'm a very sequential guy. So first things first, let's work on making sure we get our effort pillar down. And then, of course, the fundamentals. And Lincoln's been great about giving us extra individual time that we needed to give us a chance to work on that. And it's fun. I haven't gone against Lincoln since the 2007, 2009 season, but it's been a deal. But like I said, I've been through it before.
Ruffin, what does this week give you, just having a bye week, that maybe not having it, where it might have been a lot more challenging? What benefits do you get out of this?
I want to say in 2007 we didn't have one, but for us having one this time, going through the schedule that we've gone through, getting kids a chance to heal up for one, but also the thought process that would be a little different, and getting a chance to get the internal pillars implemented and not have to worry about preparing for opponent exactly right now. It's been good versus good every day, and that's helped us. So the bye week gives us a chance to heal up first, but also just get used to one another.
Ruffin, when you make a change like this, do you see a lot of overhaul, or do you just build on what's been built through the first 6 games?
You see guys and you evaluate guys each week. We also, at this point in the season with the bye week, we go, okay, which lineup particularly can be most productive for us? And that's where you first start. We do it every week, but especially in the bye week, you get a chance for different packages that we may have to find out who fits first. It always starts with personnel. And so that's what we started as a group. The schemes are important, but the intangibles are as important right now for us, and the schemes will come as we get a little closer to the game week.
Because you're 5 games in, do you have time, or can you put in your own ideas that you have on this defense?
Well, the ideas we had on defense, we all were a part of. I like what we're doing.
Okay.
So there won't be any changes in nomenclature or vocabulary. So it's not an overhaul at all with that. The kids, the biggest, with interim tag that was asked earlier, is as most minimal adjustments as possible. And so it's held true here.
So how have the players taken to all these changes, you think?
I think with players, and it's not just here at OU, but in 39 years, 13 different places, it's the same as when you tell players the expectations, here's what you expect, and you make sure they understand expectations and here are the positives that will happen from meeting expectations every day in practice. And if it's not met, then we'll do them until they are met. Again, I mentioned about being sequential. I'd love to work on schemes, but if the effort's not right, I really don't care about anything else until that's right. Once that's right, we go to the next one, which is fundamentals. When that's fixed, when effort and fundamentals are fixed, next one, and so on and so forth. So.
Ruffin, I'm sorry. Lincoln made his first major decision as a head coach. From your perspective, how did he handle it? And did it look like it was really tough for him at midseason?
It's just a tough move. I've been there. I've been on both ends of that, and I understand it was tough. And everybody knows Mike's a great person, and the whole Stoops family, Bob, Mark, and Mike. I know all three, and I know it was tough on Lincoln, and been there in that situation, and I know it was tough for him to do that because you're not only doing that, you have to do it with a friend.
Ruffin, do you have a number one priority taking over? I mean, is there something you feel like you got to accomplish before you play TCU?
It's making sure we all on one accord. One thing that we do is making sure everybody's on the same, like I mentioned before, one accord from those pillars I mentioned earlier. And if we accomplish that, of course, the scheme is schematic, but even before schematic is making sure those basic things right now, not that have been on before, but a revamping, a re-upping of those right now as a group.
What have been your impressions?
It happens when there's like a point of no return and your goals are passed. You guys have everything still in front of you. How helpful is it for you to take over when everything is still there to be accomplished?
Well, I think that's very important, and I'm a very controllable. I work on controllables and not uncontrollables. But the uncontrollable thing is we do have opportunity as a group, as a team. And the controllable things that we can work on is how hard work each day as a staff and as a group. So I'm really focused on that as a position coach or positional coach now in this position, but making sure the controllables I have at hand, preparation, practice, team, unity, those type of things can be handled each day. But the fact that we do have games left to be as good as we want to be, I look forward to that challenge too. We got a great competition down the way. I look forward to, as a team, not just defensive, as a team, facing those challenges.
Ruffin, are you going to continue to work with the defensive tackles, or do you cede some of that to Calvin?
Yeah, Tibbs and I have been together, so Lincoln wanted to let Tibbs have that. I get a chance to roam a little bit more and be a part of everyone's drills or what have you. And I've been in that position before, and with a great coach like Calvin, he can handle it. And we already, been prepared for that. Y'all know about Bob being with outside backers. Bob and I coached when he was at UConn, and then Coach Kish and Coach Cooks will be the same, secondary linebackers.
We mentioned Bob.
What can you tell us about Bob?
Bob Diaco?
Yes.
He's a really good ball coach, really enthusiastic, smart as a whip. Taking the leashes off of him was like letting a wild tiger loose. But because Bob and I did so much as head coaches, it was that relationship there. My wife absolutely loves him and would divorce me for good looking. But Bob's, we've known each other for a long time, and he's very excited, and he's done a really good job, and he will do a great job.
Ruffin, you've sat up there with Mike right next to him while he was calling the defense, and Lincoln said that that's what you would be doing. How much did that, just being up there, prepare you to kind of take over in that role?
Well, I've called defenses. I've been up. I've been on the ground. Up, I'll stay up and still call from up, and with as least transition as possible on the field, and we're still going through that, and we'll have a run through tomorrow, and they can say it just with phones and see if I want either Bob up there with me would be the next move, but I like Bob on the field with his enthusiasm and get after it. I can handle upstairs. I got two really good young coaches, Jamarcus and David Magazoo. Mag was one of the best players ever coached, and Jamarcus, of course, tried to recruit him, but he chose OU instead of coming with me, which is, I'm glad now because I'm here.
Do you feel like the players feel like they have kind of a clean slate, a little bit different energy? Some of the players obviously haven't got a lot of playing time, with just this different set of eyes on them as a defense coordinator.
Well, a lot of them are disappointed because, they have some, a little sadness, which is understandable. You know, when they talk about OUDNA, that means family. So that was there, but they also know I've been fortunate, and like I mentioned earlier, grateful to be around the family now for a second year, second season. So all the kids know who I am and know how I am. So I think with the change, it does give some players some opportunities, but I'm looking forward to seeing the progress of those kids. And that's what we asked about the bye week. That's what it gives those guys a chance.
Who are some of those guys that might get opportunities that we haven't seen before?
Oh, still going through that process. You know, give me a little bit of time. If y'all want to talk to me later on, I'll be able to get it more solidified. But it's more of a not tryout type thing, but just move methodically type. Hey, let's move a guy here. Let's see how he does here. Just trying to make sure we make the proper moves with each guy. But they've done a great job.
Ruffin, one thing that people have talked a lot about is the tackling. You talk about fundamentals. How do you fix that specific problem at this point of the season?
I'm very simple. I'll be the simplest man either one of y'all ever meet. Really. We have to work on it and be rigorous about it and be firm about it. That's what I mentioned earlier about Lincoln giving us just a little more time this week and even perhaps during the game week until we fix that, not just the tackling, but other parts of it that deals with the game, you know. And but we've been able to do that these last 2 days and, you know, emphasizing it with them. And I'm looking forward to seeing an improvement tomorrow. You know, we got a long ways before 11 o'clock next Saturday, so looking for the progress tomorrow. I'm ready to watch the film.
When you came in, everybody talked about, you know, the relationships you build with players. Is that a big part of your job now, is just going individually to guys and building those relationships, like you said, the expectations, and then hoping that grows into an overall confidence in the defense?
I'm really nice to them. Yeah. I love the kids, offensively, special teams, defense, and that's always been my deal, you know, is not only is tough love, you know, I've always had this, not just here, but believe me, working them hard as you possibly can, and then loving them even harder. And somebody said, there's a mix. Well, maybe not for you, but again, I mentioned earlier, I'm always be myself. So guys know that I also provide a very, very, very tough side, but at the same time, they know I love them. And we have that understanding among the whole team.
Ruffin, Jason just asked you about tackling. Are you confident that that can be fixed?
I think it can. You know, I've had to do it before. So, and it takes work. There's no Harry Potter, you know, magic wand. It's just a matter of just making sure we keep emphasizing it. And anytime it's proper, you make sure you praise it more than the negative, you know. And that's what I sort of focus on, is when we see what we want, making sure we give over the amount of praise and positive to that.
Do you feel like this group is far off from playing defense better or well?
I think they can be as good as they set their minds to. And I'm very fortunate, and the guys were here when I came. I talked about Tim Kish and Kerry Cooks and Gavin Thibodeau and bringing in Bob Diaco, Lincoln. They are surrounded by guys that are excellent teachers. And I love watching them work. Working with the D-line, I didn't have a chance to individually watch each of those guys work. But that's been very good for me to do that.
Look at, Ruffin, is calling plays like riding a bike? I mean, you just sit back down and it'll come to you in 30 seconds?
Yeah, I believe in the plan, and you have your ideas of what helps. I think you always need to be able to have adjustments and answers, and you know, you always want to know if it's a physical of the call, so we've gotten used to that the last 2 days, or getting used to that the last 2 days as a staff. But I've always been a part of that game, that part of the game of study. That's why I don't watch football when I leave the office. People say that's weird. I said, nah, because I watch it all the time up here. So I go home, I'm a movie buff, so I watch that. But I think it's just something you do. And you always, when you learn to do it, you do it.
How did you find out about the change?
Lincoln met with everybody as a group.
how is morale right now? Not just based on this situation, but also you're coming off of the loss to Texas, and how can you get these guys moving forward from a mental standpoint?
That's really that's a great question. Is they're going to be down a little bit because they put so much into it, but also haven't been in this long. The most resilient people on earth are kids, and how they bounce back. The last 2 days have been some of the most physical practice we've had in a long time. Enthusiasm and intensity is there, and you know they know they have a lot left. The question you asked me earlier, so we have a different group of leadership, whereas Bake was the vocal deal. Our leadership now is more internal and quiet and firm, and that's okay. You lead both ways, so that's been a big part. Lincoln's done a great job immediately after the game, getting everybody back on the same page, and then coming back and getting to work on Monday. He just continued that, and we took over as a staff, and the command influence that he has over the whole group, us included the staff, has been great.
You've obviously got, you know, almost 2 weeks till the next ball game, but Caleb Kelly's on. He plays next. He's not going to redshirt. Do you all have a pretty good idea of how y'all are going to go about that the rest of the year?
Yeah, we still discussing it a little bit, you know, and won't do us in Caleb's best interest, and so nothing final yet. But Lincoln handles that part.
Has he expressed any interest to you guys what his preference would be?
Well, you know, he's still coming back from the injury, you know, a little bit, and it's been a struggle, and you know, Caleb's a great kid and really good football player, and I know exactly where he's from in Fresno, so he was excited about what's going on, and he was very close to Coach Mike, and it's good to see him be a part, you know.
Ruffin, you've been able to see how players are reacting to this. How has Kenneth Murray done specifically in rallying guys and playing a leadership role?
I think that's why he's voted captain by his teammates, you know. Not only that, but he's the Mike linebacker of our defense, which on defense is quarterback, and he and I have always had a great relationship, and even more with the communication it takes from the Mike to the rest of the defense. So K9's been great, and the captain title has been well warranted.
Hey, Ruffin, I talked to one of your former Texas Tech players yesterday who said that in 2007, one thing he did was simplify things for people. Is that something that's important here today, just get people thinking less, do you think?
Well, you always have to have great scheme, especially in this league, and because people can exploit you. You know,
Yeah.
quarterbacks are very good. You can see the guys right now starting the league from this NFL, from Big 12. So, but, you know, for me, I go back to what I mentioned earlier about the simplest man you know. To me, clear mind, fast legs, cloudy mind, slow legs.
Yeah.
So, you know, with that, we hope they'll play faster at the same time, making sure we get enough calls to be effective.
Yeah.
And adjust to be effective.
Yeah.
We got to wrap, Coach Ross.
Okay.
Thanks, Coach.